Under the cold glow of a highway patrol cruiser, Jonathon Luna's empty car sat with its engine still running, blood dripping from the undercarriage like a slow, deliberate warning. The clock on the dashboard froze at 5:30 in the morning, but whatever happened to him had started long before that. This wasn't a random attack. This wasn't a simple robbery. This was something darker, planned with the kind of precision that leaves almost nothing behind except fear. Jonathon Paul Luna had always been the kind of man people relied on. Born in 1965 to a Filipino father and an African-American mother, he carried himself with a quiet, disciplined confidence. He was the kid who studied late, who followed rules, who believed in the law not as a job, but as a duty. By the time he reached his mid-30s, he had built a solid reputation as an assistant U.S. attorney in Baltimore. Co-workers knew him as focused, fast-thinking, and intense when he handled a case. At home, he was a father and husband who tried to balance long days in the courtroom with evenings reading to his 2 young sons. His life looked put together, stable, predictable. But behind the straight posture and professional smile, Jonathon carried pressures that no one fully saw coming. In late 2003, he was deep into a complex narcotics case involving 2 local drug dealers who had cut a plea deal. Luna was preparing sentencing recommendations, sorting through evidence, and trying to ensure the case landed cleanly. He worked late often, but nobody thought much of it. In his world, long nights were part of the job. Still, there were small cracks beginning to show, strange phone calls, sleepless nights. A sense of quiet urgency that co-workers noticed but didn't understand. On December 3rd, Jonathon stayed at the office after dark. His desk lamp cast a small pool of light over stacks of documents and a file concerning the plea agreement he was supposed to finalize in the morning. Surveillance cameras recorded him leaving shortly after 11 p.m., dressed in a suit and tie, carrying his briefcase. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. He didn't mention an errand or a meeting. He simply walked out and disappeared into the night. What happened next traced a long, confusing line across several states. His car traveled north through Delaware, then into New Jersey, then Pennsylvania. Toll records showed his path, but not his purpose. A few stops were captured on grainy gas station footage, but Luna never spoke to anyone for long. He bought small items, a bottle of water, a fuel purchase, nothing odd. But something was off. For a man known for composure, he looked distracted, almost anxious. At one toll plaza, he used coins instead of his electronic toll pass, which was unusual. Investigators later found that the toll pass had been removed from its holder and tossed onto the passenger seat. It didn't break, it wasn't damaged. It was simply left unused. Someone wanted the journey to be hard to track. Around 5 a.m., a worker at a small Pennsylvania plant noticed something strange at the edge of the parking lot. A silver Honda Accord with its headlights on, engine idling, and no driver in sight. When he got closer, he saw blood on the driver's door. He stepped back and called police immediately. Officers arrived within minutes and followed the trail of blood across gravel and frozen mud to a shallow stream at the edge of the property. There, lying face down in icy water, was Jonathon Luna. He had been stabbed 36 times. His wallet was still on him. His phone was nearby. His badge was untouched. His body showed no signs of defensive wounds, and the shallow depth of the water told investigators he didn't drown. The cause of death was blood loss, but the manner of death was the true riddle. The early theories came fast, but none fit perfectly. At first, Pennsylvania authorities suggested suicide. That claim died almost immediately. A man rarely drives hours across state lines, buys gas, removes his toll pass, and stabs himself dozens of times with no hesitation marks. The wounds were patterned and controlled, some deep, some shallow, almost as if inflicted by someone who wanted him to suffer without killing him too quickly. It felt staged. It felt calculated. The FBI took over. They looked at his phone records, his financial accounts, and his work life. They found a few debts, but nothing extreme. They found no secret relationships, no threats that had been reported, and no signs he had planned to vanish. But they did find something that unsettled them, a draft plea agreement for the drug case he was working on. It was left behind in his office, unfinished, printed from his computer at 10:38 p.m. This meant that whatever pulled him away from work that night happened suddenly. As days passed, small details surfaced. The pocket knife used in the stabbing belonged to Jonathon himself. His blood was found on the back seat of his car, along with a scattering of cash that somehow missed being collected during the drive. The pattern suggested he was alive during most of the trip, but possibly injured. Investigators wondered whether he picked someone up or if someone forced him to drive. Yet there were no clear signs of a struggle inside the vehicle. No fingerprints except his. No DNA from anyone else. The car felt both lived in and sanitized. Friends described him as steady but stressed in the weeks before. A co-worker recalled a brief conversation where he admitted the drug case was weighing on him. One evening he quietly said, "Sometimes you don't know who you can trust." It sounded casual at the time, just workplace frustration. After his death, it echoed like a warning. Then came the most puzzling discovery. His route through New Jersey and Pennsylvania passed multiple exits where he could have called for help. Gas stations with bright lights, toll booths with attendants, public areas filled with people, yet he didn't stop to speak to anyone. He followed the path as if compelled or guided or too afraid to make a move. Some investigators believed he was being threatened. Others felt he might have been trying to cover up a mistake in the drug case, maybe involving missing money from the evidence room in earlier years. Theories stretched wide. Nothing locked into place. One of the FBI agents who reviewed the case years later spoke bluntly about the confusion. "We didn't know if he was running from someone or running towards something." That single sentence captured the atmosphere surrounding Jonathon's final hours. Everything about his last drive could be interpreted two ways. Every clue felt like a double exposure, shifting depending on how you looked at it. At an off-the-record moment, a retired detective offered a harsher view. "Whoever did this," he said, "wanted it to look messy. They wanted noise. They wanted confusion. The chaos was the point." That matched the autopsy wounds. They were inflicted with purpose, but irregularly spaced. As if the killer wanted to leave a story behind, not just a corpse. The longer the investigation dragged on, the colder it became. Leads faded. Interviews went nowhere. Witnesses forgot details. The drug dealers connected to Luna's trial denied any involvement, and no evidence tied them to the murder. There were rumors of informants who might have been exposed, or individuals who felt betrayed by the plea deal. But none were strong enough to take to court. Some believed this was a kidnapping gone wrong. Some believed it was a professional hit disguised as something sloppy. Others believed it was a pressured man caught between personal and professional trouble. In truth, no theory fully explained why an experienced federal prosecutor would drive hundreds of miles through the night, only to end up face down in a shallow stream. But one detail stood out. His glasses were missing. Jonathon needed them for reading, for driving at night, for anything up close. The glasses were never found. They didn't fall at the stream. They weren't in the car. They weren't near the body. They were taken. And that small, almost forgettable detail suggested a person who didn't want Jonathon to see something. Or someone. A detective who studied the crime scene years later described it with a quiet frustration. "It felt like a message, but we couldn't read it. The message remains unread to this day." As the case faded from public memory, Jonathon's family lived with the weight of unanswered questions. His children grew up without knowing who did this to their father. His wife defended his name through speculation and rumors that tried to paint him as unstable or reckless. She insisted, again and again, that Jonathon was a man who valued responsibility and truth, and she clung to the belief that whatever happened to him, he faced it because someone forced him to. Nearly every expert who reviewed the case agreed on one thing: Jonathon didn't stab himself 36 times. Someone else was there along that dark highway. Someone else guided the night. Someone else left him to bleed in freezing water. Yet official answers never came. No arrests, no charges, no confession. Just a long, silent space where justice should have been.